Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching, and please hit subscribe if you would like my videos to come up on your YouTube page when I make new ones. Also give the video a like if you like it. If you don't dislike it, hit dislike. Also, I want to mention that the last two videos I posted on Enlightenment and the Illuminati I accidentally deleted, so I reposted them. It was a mistake I was doing on my phone at the time, and so if you like those videos and it got deleted, go back and give them a like and view a minute of it or so we can keep the integrity. And I know what, because they were both doing really well, and now it doesn't look like they are, but that's why. Today I want to talk about this new Gillette ad and toxic masculinity. What is it? There's a lot of controversy going around about this ad, and some people are upset about it. And I want to get into the whole thing. And why am I talking about it here? Because this has to do with spirituality and enlightenment. This is one of the pillars of the two pillars of enlightenment, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine principles that you need to understand fully and live in order to become enlightened, because that's the path. So it's important that we get into it and look at it through a spiritual eyes. Now, I always say that it's hard to become enlightened if you live lies, and that's the whole the path to enlightenment is uncovering the lies that society wants you to believe, or you believe. And that's what this is about. Toxic masculinity. If you haven't seen the Gillette ad, I'm going to post a link in the description box for you, and you can watch that. There's also going to be another link in there of a documentary that explains what toxic masculinity is and how it is taught to our children. Also, toxic femininity and how that is taught to girls. And I'm going to explain what those are, and I just want to let you know the videos are down there. And if you haven't watched the commercial, you can go watch that and then come back and I'll continue the video. First of all, what I want to explain is the two pillars of enlightenment. We have the sacred masculine, which is the left. People consider it the left brain, but we're talking about personality traits that are taught to us. When you're born, your mind is blank. Men and women are born with the same brain. There are chromosome differences, but the brain itself is the same. How it's used because of those chromosome differences are very slight, and the differences are minor. Those slight differences are enhanced and can be enhanced by the way parents and society teach children. On one side, it's a sliding, imagine it this way, as a sliding scale. On the left side, we have the sacred masculine. And way over to the left, as far as you can go, is the toxic masculinity. On the right side, we have the sacred feminine principle. And the extreme right side is the toxic femininity that can be taught people. These are about taught ideas that we end up, lies that we end up living. Now, what are these lies? First of all, the biggest lie that creates toxic masculinity is that men are better than women. And people that teach this, fathers and peers that put other people down by calling them women or sissies or pussies or all these feminine terms to put men down. What they're saying is that women are less. This also creates homophobia. People that put down people who are gay or try to put other people down by calling them gay. People who do this are insecure in their own masculinity. It's their own insecurities. People who are not insecure will not do that. They will not try to put other people down about their masculinity because they don't need to. They don't see it that way. So how does this happen? It's taught by parents, by fathers, mothers. I also want to make clear, toxic masculinity can also, it's a mindset. We're not talking about genitalia, or men or women, because a woman can have toxic masculinity. And a man can have toxic femininity. It's a mindset, and it can be taught. So, what are they? And they can be taught by parents and teachers and people in schools. And I talked about the toxic masculine as being someone who is a misogynist and thinks of women as just a sexual object because women are less. And they're violent. This creates violence because they're over-violent. They commit more crimes. Now, we're talking about society, and is this a problem? This is the thing that a lot of people that are upset about the commercial is they don't think it's a problem. They say, oh, that's just the way men are. What are we going to do? I mean, but it's not true. That's the lie. The lie they're living is that men are not taught. They're born to be misogynist. They're born violent. They're born rapists. They're born criminals. They're born being mass shooters. No, that's false. They're taught that. And because of the things they are taught, it can create mental health issues and depression, which leads to medication, which leads to possibly mass shootings and violence and sexual assaults and domestic violence. This is a real thing. We're not talking about all men, but you have to be blind not to see that violence and mass shooters and these things in our society are done by men. Most of the violence is done by men. Now, women can, like I already said, women can have these violent, toxic masculinity traits if they're taught that way. But women also have toxic femininity. Now, what is that? That is taught to them. Teach a child toxic femininity is to put them in a beauty pageant at a very young age, children. Now, teach them that their body is what gives them value. They're pretty. That your worth, it depends on your appearance. And teach them that they need a lot of makeup because, but you know, the makeup never makes up for what's inside, no matter what you do. Now, women will say, oh, I wear makeup because for myself, not because of other people. That's a lie. You don't wear makeup when you're sitting at home all alone. Maybe you do. And if you are, well, then you probably really dislike yourself, the way you look. And you can't stand looking at yourself. And that's a problem. You're wearing makeup for others, mostly. Maybe there is a few that put it on for themselves. But it is created from a young age. It is taught that you are less than a man. You need to impress other people with your looks or your clothes or your appearance. Toxic femininity, women will like toxic masculine men because they also believe women are less. And toxic feminine people, they believe women are less, and they want to be treated that way. And they expect it. So that's why some women agree that this Gillette video is, they don't like it. Because it exposes the lie that women are less and deserve to be treated less. It's a lie. And I talked about that sliding scale. Far over on the right is the women. Far over on the left is the men, or toxic femininity and toxic masculinity. The sacred masculine and the sacred feminine pillars of enlightenment. And in the center, in the very center, is truth. The further you are away from the truth, the more toxic of these traits you will have. Most people live somewhere near the center, around the truth. Men tend to live further away from the truth than the women do. This is just my observation. Understanding the psyche of what toxic masculinity is and toxic femininity is. Now, one of the biggest things that men will jump on, especially if they have been taught to be toxic masculine in their life. The first thing they will take offense, because the ego and their insecurities, the ego is big, their insecurities are big. So as soon as you try to tell them to be less violent, less misogynistic, to have women treated as equal, they will attack. They will attack me for saying it. They will attack you for saying it, because their egos cannot handle this. They don't understand that women are equal to men. They should be treated like another human being, not as a less sex object. They think men are born violent. They think men are born misogynists because they don't know any other way. But Jesus Christ, the story of Jesus Christ and his teachings, he was not a toxic masculine man. He was trying to teach people to be kinder to each other, treat people fairly, help the sick, help the poor. So, and we know this for a fact, psychology is a science of the mind. We're talking about science here. This is not opinions, because the American Psychological Association agrees with what I'm saying. And they recently put out a paper on toxic masculinity. And the science shows us that it's all taught behavior. You're not born with these traits. And you can be taught to be toxic masculine or toxic feminine, and it doesn't matter what genitalia you have. Some people, men are born with extra chromosomes and they can be gay. And they will lean to that one side. But that doesn't mean they're going to be very flamboyantly gay. That can be taught by who they're around and their environment and their own feelings. And everybody can change if they want to. You don't have to feel like you're less than anyone. I'm better than no one. Nobody's better than me. We're all equal on the same plane. And men who live in this toxic masculinity have this need to compete. It's life is a competition to them. That is lie number 2. Life is not a competition, no matter how much you think it is. We're all in this together, working together, and our consciousnesses are all working together as one. It's not a competition. But they've been taught it is. They've been taught that you have to step on other people to make yourself feel better. Because they don't feel better, because they have insecurities, low self-esteem. All these things have been taught to the toxic masculine man. So the traits that they put out are a result of what they've been taught. Low self-esteem means you have to build it up by stepping on somebody else. Insecurities about your manhood, well, you have to put other people down to build yours up. And these are taught behaviors. Now, the movie that I put, the documentary that I put in the description box, The Mask You Live In. There's a great documentary made with psychologists discussing this topic and how we raised our children in the past, because it's changing now. There's a consciousness shift going on in the world, all over. And I don't want to get into the reasons for that, because there's a lot of speculation on cycles in the solar system, and it may all be true, but there is a consciousness shift, and it may have something to do with entering the age of Aquarius. All very interesting things. But the fact is, if you are aware of this stuff, and you're conscious and you're enlightened, you can see what's going on. And old ways are being reevaluated. And lies are being exposed. And changes are happening. And if you can't change and you can't learn, it's going to be very difficult and uncomfortable for you. And these two toxic feminine, toxic masculine people, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you because you're so far away from the truth. You're living multiple lies. Toxic feminine people, your worth doesn't depend on your appearance. You're not less than a man. And these women that believe that, it's going to be very difficult, because women are going to be rising up and they're going to start seeing it, and it's going to make them uncomfortable because they want to continue living with the lies that they were told, and they want them to continue. Same thing with the toxic masculine people, whether they're men or women. It's going to be uncomfortable for them, and it's important that they learn and change with the times. Now, it's very clear to me and everybody else that is living somewhere in the middle of this scale that the people that are upset about this video are the ones that have the toxic masculine and the toxic feminine personalities. The people in the middle see it very clearly, and they say yes. They understand it. And they know, because they're not that way. They don't see the anger in both of these personality traits. And the way to enlightenment is to be balanced, to be in the center, to be as close as you can to truth, to live truth, what's true to you, what's true to nature. And it doesn't matter what happened in the past. We're evolving. And that's the problem. A lot of people think just because it was done in the past, that makes it right. Wrong. Just because it was done in the past doesn't make it right or wrong. It was just something that happened in the past. So we have to understand that. And we have to understand that the toxic masculine principles is not, they are aggressive, and they're violent. The sacred masculine has to do with only using violence to defend yourself, and not to be over competitive, and not to relinquish your rights. The feminine is non-aggression, and to restrain from violence only in self-defense, and not to be over competitive. There is a balance in the middle. Women are not competitive, so they can sometimes relinquish their rights that they have. They don't need to compete, but you need a fair playing ground. Women get paid less to do the same job because they're not standing up because they feel they're less. Understand? There's a balance that we have to come to. And I wanted to bring this up because it is part of spiritual teachings. I wanted to bring this up because it is part of spiritual teachings, understanding the psyche and these emotions and feelings that we have to look at again and expose the lies of what isn't true. And it doesn't matter if your parents taught them to you. It doesn't matter if your father was that way. It doesn't matter if your grandfather was that way. If you want to have peace without depression, without anxiety, without mental health issues, without being violent, without being, to live in peace, peace of mind. Never mind finding what this thing called enlightenment is. But if you do, this is the path. You have to understand this. And if I think it's great that Gillette made this video because it needs to be talked about. People have to be aware of it. And if it makes you upset, well, good. Because things that make you upset are trying to teach you something. So thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a great day.